Welcome to day one of my 120-day porn detox challenge. I'm going to be going 120 days without touching my willy so that I can gain more satisfaction from my life. Porn has been something that I've always struggled with. I've been able to fix my diet. I've been able to get into the gym consistently. But porn has been that one thing that I've never been able to quit. I'd go 3 days and then I'd relapse. I'd tell myself, okay, I'll do it again. Then the same thing would happen. It'd always be 3 days. I think the longest I went was 1 month. But then after that, I slipped up. Porn is just something that I always felt trapped by, I felt like I was a prisoner to porn. It always ruled me. So that's why I wanted to do this challenge, because I'm sick and tired of that. I'm sick and tired of porn ruling my life. I'm sick and tired of watching other people live their life, confidently with their chest out. But me, I'm just unconfident, always anxious, a fapper that I know I am deep down. And I just want to change. So this challenge is going to be me showing to myself that I can get rid of this, but also to inspire other people who also want to get rid of this addiction that has plagued their lives, made them unsatisfied with who they are, and now they can finally start living, be free from this freaking prison that they've been living in their whole life and actually start living. If that's something you're interested in, tune in to the challenge. So I want to explain the challenge as well. So every episode, I'm going to be talking about something very specific about porn, And today I decided to talk about my journey with porn and also why we also go to porn. So, and also how you can get rid of it. I know it's a lot, but yeah, basically those three. So when I was 13, I discovered porn. It was just I think it was at nighttime. I was living in Arizona, and I remember some kid in my class just was talking about porn or something. And I just instantly just got curious. What is this? He was telling me about how it was something about naked women, but I didn't I got curious, but I didn't watch it for a while. But all of a sudden one day I just decided to get curious. I just decided I actually wanted to see what this was. And I looked up Pornhub, and instantly I just got hit with this dopamine hit. My heart was racing. I was seeing all these girls, seeing people having sex, and it's I didn't even know what sex was. I've heard about sex, but it was almost like this imaginary thing in my mind. I didn't even know what sex was. I didn't you're young. And instantly I discovered what sex was, and that was the day I also discovered my dick, because that's the first time I ever got hard. I kid you not, that's literally the first time I ever got really hard, And from that point on, I was stroking it, I stroked it that first time, felt really good. But it was in that moment when I didn't realize that I was actually going to really be fucking myself for the future. Because for majority, up until the age of 17, I just stroked it. I was just jerking off like nothing. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I was doing it because it was this cool experience. This, it felt good. But then I stumbled across NoFap when I was 17, and that was when I finally started realizing how fucked it really was for me to do this shit. I was looking at women in such a terrible way. I wasn't even getting actual girls. And everything they were saying was right. How can I look at myself in the mirror and call myself a man when I'm looking at other men fuck the girls I'm attracted to through a screen? Imagine if that camera wasn't there. It'd literally just be you or me. It'd literally just be me watching other people. That shit's gross. And I told myself that I was going to stop, because I had this new knowledge. I knew the downside of watching porn. But like everyone else, like majority of guys, they tell themselves they're gonna quit, and they go 3 days completely fine, and then you just say, okay, fuck this, or you're just like, just this once, then I won't do it tomorrow. And then once you do it that once, you just go into this like fucking fapathon where you're just like going crazy. That's literally what would happen to me every single time. It was crazy. I felt sorry for myself, so then after that, I just told myself that, this, like, who cares? Like, it's whatever. Around that time, I got my first girlfriend, so I was just thinking that, this doesn't really matter. Like, like, I have a girlfriend, so I can get girls. It doesn't, like, it's okay. You don't have, it's not that big of a deal. But then after that, I started having, issues just with my body. It wasn't getting hard enough. It wasn't even getting hard. And that's when I started realizing that this is mainly because of porn. Not only is it damaging for us physically, it's also damaging for us mentally, because then we start looking at women, they don't meet our standards. We can't really build in a connection with women because we want them to look like these people that we look at porn. And it was sad, but so I finally at the age of 19, I finally just decided, I'm just really gonna research porn, really try and get rid of it, So I started watching more videos on porn, started really diving deep into porn, and basically porn is essentially, I found out what porn really was. A lot of us think that porn is just this thing, just like when we get horny, we go to porn and we just rub one out because we're horny. But it's not really just that. It's a lot more to that, What I found out is that porn is actually a substitute for something that we're missing or want in our life. For the vast majority of people in life, it's just because they get horny, They get horny, so then they go and watch porn. But for me, it was different. Yeah, I did get horny. There were times when I got horny, but what I started noticing was that when I would go to porn, it was because of something that happened to me. In particular, I had issues with, let's say I had issues in life. I got rejected by a girl. I had a fight with someone. I did really bad at school. I felt anxious. Where would I go to? Porn. Because I didn't have that safety net. I didn't have someone I can go to be like, everything's going to be okay. This is some personal stuff now, but essentially porn was this thing that almost became my caregiver at the time. I'd go to it whenever I'd feel like shit, because it was the only time in my life at the time when I felt like I was worthy, or I felt like I was secure enough to go to, because at the time I wasn't doing anything. I was just a video gamer. I wasn't really getting any girls. I didn't really view myself in the best light. So of course I was watching porn, I wasn't doing anything. It took me so long to finally tell myself that, look, listen, you need to get rid of this. Because I'd have these on and off days where I'd be like, it doesn't really matter, where I would just kind of live life on autopilot. I'd still fap, just do this, eat junk food. But it wasn't until a month ago when I told myself that, listen, I really need to take this seriously. So, and that's the main reason why I started this challenge. Just kind of prove to myself that you can get rid of this. So that being said, I'm going to tell you right now how I'm going to get rid of it. So, as I said, the reason why I watch porn is because it's a substitute for something. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be filling up my day with these activities. I'm going to focus so hard on making these YouTube videos to tell you guys my experiences, tell you guys what I've learned, so that you could take this into your life as well if you're struggling to get rid of porn. So the first thing I did to start getting rid of porn is to start recognizing when do I get triggered or when do I get urges. It's usually when I'm bored, or as I said, when I'm getting anxious, or I'm just really horny. But what I did to combat this energy of being horny is I'm just going to start being outside all day, not all day, but for a majority of the day. Just start filling my day up with activities that I've planned, start creating YouTube videos and just always being proactive, because I've noticed the times when I've been watching porn was mainly when I was sedentary. I was just sitting down doing nothing. I had a lot of free time, and that may be the case for you as well. Maybe you have a lot of free time. That's why you relapse a lot. Second is just recognize where you get urges at. So maybe you're just lying in your bed and you're scrolling through Instagram and you see a girl that you find attractive, then you go to porn. Notice these feedback loops. Notice the patterns, because it's always a pattern. When you just sit down in your bed and you're not doing anything, you're more vulnerable to be watching porn. So yeah, recognize that. And yeah, basically I'm going to be documenting every day. I'm going to be just posting these kind of voiceover videos as well, with me going to the gym. But I'm also planning on doing other stuff as well, like going on hikes, maybe there's beach walks as well that I'll be doing, maybe me just walking around the whole place, basically just doing these voiceover videos just to give myself, just to, give you guys some visuals. But yeah. And also, last thing I want to say before this video ends, is if you are struggling with porn and everything that I've said in this video you've related to, or just in the slightest, it doesn't even have to be everything, you've related to you just not being able to get rid of porn, really, really, I advise you to join me. I want you to join me on this challenge, because I believe that porn has been one of the biggest drugs that has affected the male population the most in this generation. In my generation of men, porn has fucked the most men. Guys don't feel like men anymore. We feel like boys, lost. We can't attract girls. The reason why we struggle is because we feel inadequate. And I feel like a big reason for that is porn. How can we respect ourselves if we're watching porn? If you're comfortable with that, okay, fair enough. But I'm talking to people who are not comfortable with that, who want more out of life, who are sick and tired of being chained to porn. I advise you, join me, because I'm telling you, your life will only get better. Life is this game. What I've learned is that life is this game that we need to constantly improve at. And getting rid of porn is a big step for me, because it's always been that one thing, that one obstacle in my way. So this series is going to be really, really pivotal for me, and I hope to inspire other people as well. I really hope that this video inspired you to take action as well, so that you could get rid of your porn addiction if you watched up until this point. Because if you watched up until this point, then I know that you have that in you as well. You want to get rid of porn. So that being said, tune in for tomorrow's video and join me. You got this.